so the first thing you're gonna add is the half a cup of honey, which is what I've used. If you don't have honey, you can use maple syrup. It's just a different form of sugar instead of adding granulated sugar. You know, sugar is sugar, but this is a more natural sugar, and it's local. So I like to use honey. And then you're gonna use coconut oil, or you can use olive oil, it doesn't really matter. Technically you're supposed to melt the coconut oil first, but I just didn't feel like doing it. So once you add that in there, and you're gonna whisk this together. So what you're kind of starting out with is your wet ingredients. And then once that starts to kind of blend in together, then you're gonna add your 2 eggs. And if you noticed on the picture, I had a brown egg and a white egg. No particular reason. I just am an equal opportunist, and when you put them both in a bowl, they look the same. So add those in there. You can do one at a time, it doesn't really matter. It's not like you're trying to waterboard your batter. So, and then you're gonna go ahead and add your milk. I used almond milk, just because we always have it, and it's a little bit richer, and it's almond, so it's gonna add really good flavor to your recipe. And then I'm gonna add a teaspoon of this vanilla and a little extra. Doesn't hurt. It just adds a little more liquid to your batter, if that makes any difference. If you feel like you added too much, but you can never have too much vanilla. And then this is a real pumpkin puree. So when you go to the store, you'll find that you'll have pumpkin pie mix in a can, and you'll have 100% pure pumpkin. So make sure that when you look at the can that it's the 100% pumpkin puree. Also, you know, some of you during October or whatever, when pumpkins start to come in season, you know, if you want to make your own pumpkin puree, by all means go for it. It's, you know, a little tedious, a lot more work. You roast your pumpkins, but honestly, this is 100% pure pumpkin in a can, and you can't get any easier than that. So once you've done that, you've got all your wet ingredients together, then you're gonna start adding your dry ingredients. So this is, I used 100% wheat flour. You can do a mixture, it's really up to you, but since I'm using all wheat flour, I'm gonna let my batter sit for a little bit longer, because the wheat tends to take a while to absorb all the liquid you've put in it. So it's really nice to kind of let it sit for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then it gets a little moisture after that. You can add it all at the same time, doesn't really matter. And then you're gonna start to incorporate that. And it's starting to get a lot thicker. All right, so all I'm trying to do, I'm not trying to overmix, I'm really just trying to get the batter together. It smells really good already. All right. And then I put all my spices in one bowl, because it just looks prettier when you're doing this kind of video, I guess. Because at home, I'm like, you know, I'll just start dumping stuff in there. But sometimes you forget like what you've added to your recipe, especially if you're adding it to flour and you just start throwing stuff in there, and then you're like, oh crap, did I add baking soda? Did I have salt? Did I have? So when I'm at home, every time I've used something, I put it off to the side, to one side, to say, okay, I've already used this, so I won't get confused. So there's no confusion here. I got everything already in here. Some people you wonder how come I'm not doing dry bowl and a wet bowl, because I really just don't like dishes, and it really doesn't matter in this recipe. So you can just add all your stuff all in at once. And as you go, you're just gonna make sure that you just really stir this up, because when I was talking about not over mixing, because you're still mixing, so just remember that. All right, so this batter's looking, it's gonna be kind of, I don't know how to explain it, not real creamy, but kind of, you know, kind of chunky. And then you're gonna do is you're gonna add your oatmeal, and don't use quick cooking oats, use the old-fashioned oats, it's just better. And also because you don't really need quick cooking oats because it's not a quick recipe to cook. So you want the kind that needs to take a while to cook, and that just makes it taste better. So the other thing I'm gonna add is I like to use mini chocolate chips because they're just really cute, and it's not so overwhelming when you're biting into your muffin, is that it's just slowly kind of incorporated in everything. So that's one of the reasons why I like to do it like that. All right, and then the next thing is your pecans. So these are real Texas pecans that I'm using because I live in Texas and I have the privilege of having pecan trees. So my in-laws, they sit there and peel every one of these, and then I'm lucky enough to get a couple bags a year that I stick in the freezer because it keeps them longer. Little tip there. So all I'm gonna do is just give these a little chop. So I'm chopping these up, but I'm gonna use them on top of my muffins because I just don't like nuts in my batter. I don't like them in cookies. I don't like them in muffins. The texture really just, I just don't like it. There's something about it. So if you want to put them inside of it, that's all up to you. But if you put them on top, then they slowly get roasted and they get nice and crispy and crunchy. So it's really up to you what you want to do. Okay, so my batter's been sitting for at least 15 minutes to absorb all the flour and the ingredients that I've put in there. And I've sprayed with just some Pam spray. I think I use olive oil, or you can use butter flavored, a muffin pan. It's a muffin top pan, basically. You can see how thin it is. And I just like to use this because when it comes out, you'll see it looks more like a cross between a muffin and a cookie. So I guess you could call it a cookin'. So you could also use muffin pan, like a regular muffin pan, regular size, or you can use those ginormous ones. But when you use the really big ones, it's like, I don't know, it's just too much. So it's really up to you what kind of pan that you want to use. So all you're gonna do is you're just gonna take kind of a rounded spoonful and put in each one. As you can see it's not runny, but it's not like cookie dough. It's just kind of a cross. So really it's, you know, it's got a muffin texture, but sometimes muffins are a little runnier. And you just want to make sure that they're all equal in size. And because my circles, they're pretty big, and so they'll start to spread. So you don't really want to go all the way to the edge of the muffin top pan. So if you're using a regular muffin pan, then you're more than happy to go with like maybe 3/4 of the way full. And you just don't want to fill them up all the way. They're all finished, and you can see how far I have them from the pan. And you know, they're not very big. And like I said, they're gonna spread out just a little bit. All right, so the next thing I like to do is I like to top them off with the oatmeal and the turbino sugar. The turbino sugar is it's just a different texture of sugar. I mean, like I said, sugar's sugar. But when you put it on top of desserts or muffins or whatever, it adds just that extra little crunch of sweetness. And then also my Texas pecans. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of sugar. Doesn't matter what order you go in. But you just kind of want to do like a little gradual, you know, sprinkling. Doesn't have to be too much, just a little bit. And then I like to do my oatmeal. Oatmeal is really just to say, hey, there's oatmeal in this. That's really kind of one of the reasons I put the oatmeal on top. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to take a little bit of pecans, and since it's kind of like a little mountain, you kind of put them on there, and then I just push them just a little bit to get some on there. And you put as much or as little or none, it depends. And you can put chopped almonds on here, or slivered almonds. I always have those in the freezer as well, or walnuts. But I find that walnuts are a little bitter for me. So I like the pecans, and like I said, when they are toasted on here, they're really nice and crunchy. So when you take them out of the oven, you really just don't want them to be too soft on the top. They're gonna be a little bit firm, but not too firm. So I'm just gonna take an offset spatula or any kind of thin spatula, and you're just gonna kind of slowly lift them right out. And because of that spray, they won't stick. Let them cool for just a minute before you actually take them out of the pan. So when you break open the muffin, you can kind of see the inside here. It's just, see how the chocolate chips are just kind of speckled and not overwhelming. It's really just so soft and warm inside, and you can just eat it plain like this or with butter. This is a great recipe to make for morning breakfast when you're trying to feed all your children that are at home doing school and you're trying not to lose your mind. So also, these are perfect when after you make them, you freeze them, and then whenever somebody gets up in the morning and says, "What's for breakfast?" you say, "Look in the freezer, you heat this up for 1 minute, and you're good." Again, thanks guys for watching my video. Hope you like it. Please leave some nice comments because I'm really sensitive and I like it when people like me. Thanks.